Last week, the president was also in Delmas, where he was on the same campaign, the Letsema campaign, and where we saw him covering some potholes. We see that the president has been doing some cleaning up campaigns, and now to join us to give us some perspective on the Letsema campaign, and especially with some of the images that came out of Delmas, we are now joined by Dr. Ebrahim Harvey, who is going to give us some perspective on this conversation. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Now, we do see the president is in Tzaneen, but I just want us to go back to last week when he was in Delmas, and we saw a dirt road being tarred, part of it being tarred in order to close off a pothole. What was your first impression when you saw the president in that action?
Thank you. As I said in my column this morning, I'm sure you contacted me after reading that column, it was nothing less than bizarre. You've seen the response of the EFF. They were completely right. You know, it's bizarre. I mean, what an insult to the common sense intelligence of ordinary people, also besides opposition parties. How can you conceivably go and tar a pothole on an untarred road, a dirt road? You know, I honestly think that since Ramaphosa took office, you know, something is going on with him. Really, I think he's losing it. You know, I don't know if multiple pressures, impeachment process in Parliament, there you can see the courts overturned his decision to suspend the public protector. They said it was unlawful, and when I first heard of it, I knew they're going to find out that this is going to be the conclusion, you know. And then the impeachment process, I really think Ramaphosa is losing it. I'm becoming very convinced that the multitude and very serious and concerted pressures and crises that he's facing is causing him to lose it. How could he do that in Delmas? How could he do that? I mean, 4 months away from the elective conference, you know, and all these other challenges that he faced. I mean, it was a charade. As I used that word in the column, to have done what he did, and an insult, you know, to the ordinary people of Delmas, you know, it's just shocking, especially given the background of the disastrous states of our roads throughout the country. Never before in the history of South Africa, especially the 1910 Union of South Africa over a century ago, has our roads been in such a pathetic mess. It's in the worst condition ever. How could he then do this? This make-believe charade of fixing a pothole on a dirt road in Delmas. You know, I'm so shocked I couldn't believe it, really. Ramaphosa is digging his own grave. I don't know why, what he's doing. And there you can see the judgment against him by the courts yesterday that he unlawfully suspended. You know, and I heard him. Let me tell you, he's misleading you and the viewers. When he speaks about COVID, when he speaks about the July 2021 unrest, what is he talking about? We were in the biggest crisis in post-apartheid South Africa, let me tell you without any shred of doubt, long before COVID happened, long before the July riots happened. The South African economy and our society was crisis-ridden, in the worst state before COVID occurred. Now, conveniently, they use COVID as a scapegoat and the July riots of last year. It's really totally untrue. And they're leaning on those two events opportunistically, I believe, to obscure their own responsibility independent of those events in the crisis that we're facing in this country at the moment. You know, I think he's done the Letsema campaign. It's supposed to be waged with a sense of renewal. How can you talk about what an insult? He shot himself and the ANC in the foot.
Dr. Harvey, I mean, sorry, just to interject there, Doctor. I mean, in your opinion piece, you make mention of the naked insult, and that the ANC has lost some of the most important metros in the 2016 and the 2022 local government elections, which is Johannesburg, Tshwane, as well as Ekurhuleni. Going to the 2024 elections, how do you believe that voters who were supporters, especially of President Ramaphosa, will now vote, especially after seeing scenes out of Delmas?
Well, I think I indicated it in the column, and I've indicated in numerous radio and TV interviews over the past few weeks, because I've been asked this critical question of what the outcome of 2024 will be. Ramaphosa and the ANC has failed to realize everything that is going on, including the campaign, the Delmas, the insult, is going to count against them, as I said in the column this morning. People remember these things, especially things that touch their hearts, things that are close to their interests, roads, potholes, waters, and everything is falling apart. He did the ANC a big disservice, and himself, I believe, by what he did, by welcoming and participating, can you believe it, in this hoax, this charade of fixing a pothole on a tarred road. But there's numerous other reasons I can give you why. 2024, I am more convinced by the day that the ANC is going to drop below 50%, and for the first time in post-apartheid South Africa, you're going to have a national coalition government of the EFF, the ANC, and the DA. There is no doubt about it. And any political scientist and commentator analyst who says anything different is not following very closely what is happening on the ground. The ANC really, I'm sorry to say, I don't think any sense of renewal. In fact, it's being contradicted daily, this sense of renewal, although they have never adequately expressed what exactly the renewal amounts to. It's being contradicted daily, and you see in Delmas, I have no doubt at all. The ANC is going to drop below 50% in the 2024 national elections.
Speaking of that national coalition, Dr. Harvey, we are seeing what coalitions currently are, especially in the Johannesburg metro. How do you see that panning out post-2024? Should there be a national coalition of the DA, the ANC, and the EFF when we are actually struggling even just at a municipal level?
No, I think a national coalition government of the three big parties, the ANC, EFF, and the DA, will be somewhat more feasible than what you're seeing. You see, the reason why, partly, a big contributing factor to the crisis in coalition governments around the country, not just in Joburg, the Eastern Cape, is the number of parties. There is so many parties, 7 to 8, 9, 10 parties. So the more parties you have in a coalition government, the more problems you're going to pick up, because there's so many voices and parties to that coalition government. A national coalition government of the three parties, I don't believe will be as problematic and crisis-ridden as local government has been.
Lastly, Doctor, you just mentioned that this could be the downfall of the current president of the ANC. Should President Cyril Ramaphosa not make it as the next president, who do you believe could take the ANC above from where they currently are?
I don't believe in. I answered that question in the column this morning. I've looked at all the potential candidates who could replace him, or if he doesn't stand in December, to take his place. And to be honest with you, factions aside, both factions, I don't see anybody. You know what? You've got to have a leader who's going to be able to deal with the worst crisis the ANC and this country is in right now. And I cannot. I've stretched my mind thinking who the other people could be. There is nobody, and this is why we're sitting with a very serious problem. If Ramaphosa doesn't stand for re-election in December, or stands and loses it, who is going to come in? I cannot, be honest with you, right now, I cannot see who that person is. And that is why, reluctantly, very reluctantly, and you can see I've just given you further reasons, I would still, faced with the other opposition potential candidates coming from those quarters, I would still vote for Ramaphosa, hoping that he participates, that he's not charged before the electoral conference, and that he wins it. Because I shudder to think about the future of this country and the ANC and South Africa, honestly. If somebody else from the opposing Ace Magashule, Zuma faction comes in, becomes the next president, I really think we're going to be in for worse times than we are at the moment, very unfortunately.
All right. Thank you so much for that input. That's Dr. Ebrahim Harvey.